The younger brother works every day on the construction site, carrying hundreds of pounds of cement. Meanwhile, the older brother is the boss of a publicly listed company. One day, the secretary burst into the office and said she had found the president's long-lost younger brother, who was working at their own factory. The president immediately decided to meet his brother. To understand the life conditions of the grassroots workers, the president disguised himself as a worker and instructed the secretary to keep it quiet. He then walked into the factory. Soon, he recognized his younger brother. The younger brother realized that the person in front of him was his long-lost older brother, and the two brothers hugged and cried. The younger brother quickly took the president to the employee dormitory and asked about the president's recent situation. The president wanted his brother to leave with him, but the younger brother said that working here made money, and he hoped his brother would stay with him. Before the president could respond, the younger brother ran outside. He quickly returned, holding a basket, and inside the basket was a hen. The president asked what this meant. The younger brother said that as long as he had this chicken, he could find his brother a job. Though the president didn't understand, he followed his brother to the contractor. The younger brother placed the basket in front of the contractor, saying his brother had just returned and wanted to find a job in the factory. The contractor glanced at the hen, then handed the younger brother a certificate and asked him to leave. To their surprise, just as they were leaving, the president saw the contractor take a wad of cash from the basket and start counting it. He then realized that getting a job without an interview or a health check was something that had to be paid for. The contractor, sensing the situation was wrong, immediately told the younger brother to take the basket and took the certificate back from him. The president criticized the contractor for having too much power, but the younger brother urged his older brother not to get involved. At that moment, the factory manager walked over and inquired about the situation. The younger brother explained that he wanted to find his brother a job, but the manager looked at the hen, then at the younger brother, and said that to get a job, one chicken was enough before, but now one chicken was not enough. He then gathered all the workers, saying the company had decided to develop a second phase of the project, and as long as everyone worked well, they could earn a lot of money. Realizing something was wrong, the president secretly sent a message to the secretary, asking her to bring people to conduct a surprise inspection of the factory. The secretary immediately set off after receiving the message. At this moment, the manager said that with more projects, the labor conditions must improve. The president angrily questioned why he should pay them. The younger brother quickly intervened, saying his older brother didn't understand yet. To find a job for his older brother, he said he would trade the hen in the basket plus 6 months of unpaid wages for a job opportunity for his brother. The manager arrogantly replied that wages were wages and job opportunities were job opportunities, and they shouldn't be mixed together. At this point, a worker also stood up, asking the manager to pay the wages. His mother urgently needed money for treatment. The manager agreed verbally to pay the wages, but then turned around and ordered someone to beat up the worker. The president angrily reprimanded the manager, saying that he dressed so well but had no money to pay the workers. Clearly, he was embezzling public funds. At this point, the contractor chased everyone away, and the younger brother, pulling his older brother, was about to leave, but was kicked to the ground by the contractor. To teach them a lesson, the contractor directly attacked the younger brother, knocking him out. Just then, an upper-level call came in, saying they would conduct a surprise inspection. To avoid making a mistake during the reception, the manager immediately ordered for the two brothers to be locked up. The president said he was the chairman and ordered the workers to call an ambulance immediately, but the workers didn't believe him. Since they had angered the manager here, they were only going to be punished. Meanwhile, the secretary had just arrived at the factory gate and saw the manager welcoming the workers. The secretary said she didn't need any extravagant displays, and everything should be kept simple. She then went to tour the factory. The secretary asked the manager if any new workers had joined recently. The manager said no. The secretary mentioned that with the recent expansion of the project, they should be recruiting new employees. She then asked if anyone had recently come for an interview. The manager said there had been applicants, but they didn't meet the requirements, so they had been sent away. The secretary sensed something was wrong. Since it was a message from the chairman, the person had to still be in the factory. So she put the search for the person aside and went to the cafeteria, where she saw a table full of luxurious food. The manager said these dishes were made by professional chefs, and he didn't know if they would suit the secretary's taste. The secretary asked about the price of the food on the table. The manager said it cost $100,000, and he hoped the secretary would take care of him at work in the future. The secretary stood up angrily. The manager quickly grabbed grabbed a paper bag, saying it contained $100,000 as a small gift for the secretary. The secretary angrily questioned the manager about whose factory this was, that they were not only wasting money on meals, but also bribing the leadership. The manager replied that everything was for the company. The secretary then asked about the employees' meals, and the manager said that to save money for the company, employees only ate vegetables and steamed buns. The secretary angrily asked if the money saved had gone into the manager's own pocket. The manager immediately called the contractor over, reprimanding him that he could not cut the workers' meals anymore, and handed him the money in the paper bag, telling him to provide extra food for the workers. After scolding the contractor, the manager immediately assured the secretary, saying he had listened to the contractor's advice and that he wouldn't do this again in the future. Soon, the actors the manager had hired arrived, and they held up banners, saying they had come to thank the manager for providing them with jobs, which allowed their families to live well. The secretary said she would report this to the chairman. Meanwhile, in the small, dark room, the contractor thought the president had made the whistleblowing call, so he decided to teach the two brothers a lesson. The president, desperate to save his unconscious younger brother, shouted the secretary's name loudly. The secretary asked what was going on in the room, but the manager said they had only raised a few biting dogs and advised the secretary not to go in. At that moment, an employee ran out of the room complaining to the manager, saying the man bit anyone he saw and had gone crazy. The secretary then realized that the dogs locked inside weren't dogs, but people, and it was likely the president. She rushed in to stop it, and after confirming it was the president, the manager was stunned, and the contractor confidently insisted it couldn't be the president. The president ordered the secretary to quickly call for help, and then carried his younger brother out. The secretary angrily reprimanded the manager, saying she would settle accounts with him later. The manager finally realized that he was completely finished.